Imagine possessing power beyond mortal comprehension, a power so immense it could reshape the very fate of Middle-earth itself. Gandalf, the Grey Pilgrim, was not just a wizard, he was a Maya, a spirit of incredible strength. Yet, despite his immense power, he chose restraint, for he understood that true strength lay not in domination, but in inspiring others to rise to their own potential. Gandalf's journey is one of wisdom and restraint, and now he calls upon you. Comment your name below, and Gandalf will speak to you in his wisdom. Will you rise to the challenge? What if I told you that the Gandalf you know harbors a power so terrifying that he dared never unleash it? A power so immense it could have reshaped the very fate of Middle-earth itself. Gandalf the Wise, the Pilgrim, was more than just a wandering wizard. He was a Maya, a spirit of immense power from the dawn of Middle-earth. But why did he hold back? Why did he fear to wield his full might? Today, we uncover the secret power within Gandalf's past, a power that remained hidden, shaping the destiny of this world we know. Welcome to the lore of Middle-earth, where revelations await, changing how you perceive this magical realm forever. From the humble gardens of Bag End to the towering peaks of the Misty Mountains, from the mysterious, undying lands beyond the sea to the countless paths of Middle-earth, every corner tells a tale. Join us as we uncover these wondrous lands together, beginning with the secret that shaped the wizard we call Gandalf. Before Middle-earth knew him as Gandalf, he was known as Olorin, one of the Maiar, spirits created at the world's dawn. The Maiar were servants of the Valar, the mighty guardians of the world. Olorin was one of these spirits, revered for his wisdom and compassion, traits that would define his role on Middle-earth. But what does it mean to be a Maya? The Maiar were part of the Ainur, the powerful spirits who helped shape the world under the guidance of Eru Ilúvatar, the One. Unlike the Valar, the greatest of the Ainur, the Maiar were tasked with guiding and protecting the world. Among them, Olorin was known for his deep understanding of the minds of elves and men, a gift that would serve him well in the years to come. Imagine, if you will, a being who could shape reality with a thought, who could peer into the hearts of others and understand their deepest fears and desires. This was Olorin, a spirit of such power that even among the Maiar he was revered. Yet despite his immense strength, Olorin understood the delicate balance of free will and guidance. His power was not meant to dominate, but to guide, a choice that would shape his future role in Middle-earth. In the Undying Lands, Olorin walked among the Valar and learned the importance of restraint. He knew that power unchecked could lead to destruction, and it was this wisdom that would become the foundation of his mission when he descended to Middle-earth. Olorin, now known as Gandalf, would not wield his power freely. He would be a guide, not a ruler. For Gandalf, the true strength lay not in commanding or controlling, but in inspiring others to rise to their own potential. The Valar had sent the Maiar to Middle-earth not to dominate, but to guide. The arrival of the Istari, the Order of Wizards, was no mere accident. 5 of them came to Middle-earth: Saruman the White, Gandalf the Grey, Radagast the Brown, and the 2 mysterious blue wizards. Their purpose was singular: to assist the peoples of Middle-earth in their fight against the growing shadow in the east, yet without directly intervening. They were forbidden to wield their full power openly. Why such a restriction? The answer lies in the history of the Valar's previous intervention. In the ancient days, when the Valar had fought against the forces of darkness, entire continents had sunk beneath the waves, and the world itself had been altered. The Valar learned the hard way that direct intervention brought about catastrophic results. This time, their approach would be subtler, and so the wizards were bound to the forms of old men, their true power hidden beneath weathered brows and gnarled hands. Among all the Istari, it was Gandalf who most fully embraced this role. Saruman, the leader of the Order, sought knowledge and power for its own sake, while Radagast turned his attention to the wild beasts of Middle-earth. Gandalf, however, walked tirelessly among all peoples, from the grand halls of the elven lords to the humble homes of hobbits in the Shire. He learned their ways, understood their fears, and gave counsel where it was needed most. His power, subtle and unseen, lay in his ability to inspire and guide without bending others to his will. But let us not be mistaken. Gandalf's power was far from insignificant. He possessed the ability to move mountains, to summon storms, to influence the very fabric of Middle-earth itself. Yet, the true measure of his strength lay not in these grand displays of magic, but in his restraint. Gandalf could have solved every problem with a wave of his staff, but he understood that true victory could only be won by the peoples of Middle-earth, not by the will of one being, no matter how powerful. His restraint was tested again and again, with each new challenge, each growing darkness that threatened the land. And yet Gandalf chose to take the harder path, the path of guidance. His greatest power, perhaps, was the strength to trust others, to let them find their own way, even when he knew he could do it all himself. For Gandalf, true strength did not lie in wielding power, but in knowing when to hold back. As we embark on this journey through Middle-earth, remember this: Gandalf's greatest secret, his greatest power, was his restraint. He did not wield his power for domination. Instead, he used it to inspire others to rise to their own strength. This is the power that shaped the fate of Middle-earth, the power that held the darkness at bay. And it is in understanding this secret that we come to truly know Gandalf, the Grey Pilgrim, the guide who changed the world not by bending it to his will, but by trusting others to shape their own destinies. Next time, we will delve deeper into Gandalf's inner struggle with the temptation of the One Ring, the greatest test of his strength. Until then, the law of Middle-earth awaits. The most difficult choice Gandalf ever faced was not the one between right and wrong. It was the struggle between what was best for Middle-earth and what he could accomplish with the power at his disposal. Gandalf's greatest trials were internal. They were fought not against the forces of darkness, but against the shadows within himself. These battles, often silent and unseen, would define his journey, and perhaps none were as profound as his encounter with the One Ring. Imagine possessing power beyond mortal comprehension. Imagine being able to reshape reality with a thought, to command fire and light, to heal with a touch, or destroy with a word. Now, imagine knowing that such power, amplified by the One Ring, could corrupt you completely. Gandalf was no stranger to the lure of the ring. He had seen it in others, and he knew the terrible danger it posed. Yet, the temptation was undeniable. When Frodo Baggins, the innocent hobbit, offered the ring to Gandalf for safekeeping, the wizard's reaction was immediate. "Do not tempt me, Frodo," he warned, his voice tinged with fear. "I dare not take it, not even to keep it safe. Understand, Frodo, I would use this ring from a desire to do good, but through me it would wield a power too great and terrible to imagine." These words were not merely the caution of a wise old man. They were the heartfelt admission of a being who understood the depth of his own power and the corruption that could follow if that power were amplified by the ring's malevolent influence. The One Ring was no ordinary artifact. It was a vessel of Sauron's very essence, a tool of domination. Crafted with the singular purpose of bending all minds to darkness, it was more than a trinket of gold. It was a force of destruction. Gandalf knew what few others could comprehend. He knew that to wield the ring was to risk becoming a tyrant, and not just any tyrant. As J.R.R. Tolkien himself wrote in a letter, Gandalf, as Ring Lord, would have been far worse than Sauron. He would have remained righteous, but self-righteous. He would have continued to rule and order things for good, according to his wisdom. Pause for a moment and think about that. Gandalf, with his vast knowledge and power, amplified by the ring, would not have become a Dark Lord in the traditional sense. He would not have ruled through fear and domination. Instead, he would have reshaped Middle-earth according to his vision of what was right and good. His rule would have been one of benevolent dictatorship, where every action, every decree would have been for the greater good. The ring would have made him something even more insidious than Sauron, an idealist so convinced of his own righteousness that he would have forced his version of perfection onto the world, no matter the cost. This was the true nature of the temptation Gandalf faced. Not the power to do evil, but the power to do good through force. He could have solved the problem of Sauron's darkness with a single stroke. He could have used the ring to bring peace and order to the world, to reshape Middle-earth into what he believed it should be. And yet he knew that this path would lead to disaster. Gandalf understood that the world needed to be free, that the peoples of Middle-earth had to make their own choices. Only in that freedom could true victory be achieved. The ring, Gandalf knew, was a corrupting force. It did not just amplify power, it distorted the very essence of those who wielded it. Even with the best intentions, it would have consumed him. Gandalf would have started with noble goals, no doubt, but eventually, the ring would have twisted his sense of right and wrong. It would have made him a dictator, reshaping Middle-earth in his own image, all for the sake of good. And yet Gandalf did not give in to this temptation. He resisted, not because he was immune to the ring's pull, but because he understood the cost. He understood that to take the ring would be to surrender his very essence, to give in to a power that could not be controlled. He chose the harder path, the path of restraint, the path of guidance, not domination. As we look back on Gandalf's journey, we see that the One Ring was not just a physical object of immense power. It was a mirror, reflecting the darkest desires of the heart. Frodo, a simple hobbit, faced this temptation and struggled with it throughout his own journey. But Gandalf's struggle was far more profound. He had already walked the path of power, and he knew the true cost of giving in. He did not fear the ring because he lacked courage, but because he had the wisdom to understand that even the noblest intentions could lead to tyranny. This inner struggle, this constant battle against the temptation of the ring, was perhaps the defining challenge of Gandalf's existence. It was a test of his character, of his strength, not in wielding power, but in resisting it. Gandalf's refusal to take the ring wasn't just a choice for himself, it was a choice for Middle-earth. It was a testament to the true nature of power, that it is not how much you possess, but how you choose to use it that defines you. In his restraint, Gandalf became the beacon of hope that Middle-earth needed. He did not wield the ring, nor did he allow it to corrupt him. Instead, he trusted in the people of Middle-earth to rise to the challenge themselves. His strength lay not in what he could do, but in what he chose not to do. This was the essence of Gandalf's power, and it was this very power that ultimately led to the defeat of Sauron. Next time, we will explore Gandalf's greatest act of courage, the confrontation with the Balrog. When the stakes were at their highest, Gandalf was forced to reveal a fraction of his true power. But even in this moment of desperation, he held back. We will examine the balance between Gandalf's strength and restraint, and how this battle shaped the wizard we know today. Until then, the path ahead is still full of mystery and revelation. The tale of Gandalf's power is not simply one of mastery over the elements or even his unparalleled wisdom. It is the story of restraint. The final and most profound test of this restraint came not on the battlefield, but deep within the mines of Moria, where Gandalf faced an ancient and terrible foe, one that would push him to the brink of revealing his true power. It was there, against the Balrog, that Gandalf was forced to confront the very nature of his strength and what it meant to hold back. When the Fellowship of the Ring ventured into the mines of Moria, they sought to avoid the dangers of the outside world, unaware that darkness waited beneath the earth. The moment Gandalf encountered the Balrog, the ancient demon of fire, he was faced with a choice that would define his future. Here was a creature of shadow and flame, a being older than even Sauron, whose power threatened to destroy the Fellowship and plunge the world into further darkness. Gandalf could have unleashed his full strength. He could have obliterated the Balrog with a mere gesture, vanquishing this menace forever. Yet even in the face of such a powerful adversary, Gandalf did not immediately resort to force. "I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor," Gandalf declared. His words rang with a power that shook the very foundations of Moria. In that moment, Gandalf revealed a fraction of his true nature, an ancient power that was not merely magical, but sacred. It was a testament to the light that resided within him, a power linked to the very essence of Middle-earth itself. Yet, even as he spoke these words, he did not release the full extent of his might. He faced the Balrog as a guide and protector, not a conqueror. The battle that followed, fierce and unyielding, was not one of sheer destruction, but of defense, a battle to give the Fellowship a chance to escape. As the Balrog fell, so too did Gandalf. He was pulled into the abyss with his foe, falling into the depths of Moria, where it seemed all hope was lost. The loss was profound. Gandalf had held back, not because he was weak, but because he understood that true victory was not won through domination. His death, or rather his apparent death, became an indelible part of the story of Middle-earth. It was an act of ultimate sacrifice, one that embodied his role as a guide and protector, giving everything to ensure that others could carry on the fight. Yet, as we know, Gandalf's story did not end there. He was sent back, returned to Middle-earth by the Valar, not as the Grey Pilgrim, but as Gandalf the White. His return marked a new chapter, but it was not a return to power for power's sake. No, Gandalf's return was a continuation of his mission, a mission he had always understood. He was still bound to guide, not to command. His purpose remained unchanged, even as his role grew more prominent. In his return, Gandalf's restraint was tested once more. The armies of Sauron gathered, and the shadow of evil grew ever closer. Gandalf was now more powerful than before, but he never once sought to use his power to force a conclusion. Instead, he used his wisdom and courage to rally others, to unite the free peoples of Middle-earth in their struggle. He knew that true victory could only come through unity, trust, and sacrifice, values that were at the heart of his restraint. When the Battle of Helm's Deep raged, Gandalf could have led the charge with unmatched power, cutting down all who stood in his way. But that was not his role. Instead, he inspired hope in those who had none. He helped them find the strength within themselves, guiding them toward the light in the darkest of times. His power was not in the blade or in the spell, but in his ability to make others believe in themselves. And when the final confrontation with Sauron came, Gandalf stood not as a king or a conqueror, but as the guiding light for all. He never once sought to dominate or control. His greatest strength lay in his ability to resist the temptation to bend the world to his will. His was a quiet power, one that inspired others to act, to choose their own destinies. In the end, Gandalf's greatest power was not in what he did, but in what he chose not to do. His strength was in his restraint, in his wisdom, in his faith in others. Through him, we learn that the true power of a leader is not in wielding control, but in helping others rise to the challenge. It is in trusting others to choose their path, even if that path is fraught with peril. Gandalf's legacy is a reminder that power, unchecked, can destroy, but power, when guided by wisdom and restraint, can save. As we close this final chapter, we reflect on Gandalf's journey, not just as a wizard, but as a symbol of the eternal struggle between power and restraint. His story teaches us that true strength is not measured by what we can do, but by what we choose not to do. And in that choice, Gandalf shaped the fate of Middle-earth, not through domination, but through the quiet power of guidance, trust, and self-restraint. The path ahead in Middle-earth may be uncertain, but Gandalf's journey reminds us that even in the face of darkness, the light of wisdom and restraint will always guide us. It is this enduring legacy that we carry with us, wherever our own paths may lead.